Carowinds just announced and showed us some footage on their YouTube channel of the new paint colors for Carolina Cyclone. Some context for those of you that don't know what I'm talking about. Carowinds is an amusement park located in Charlotte, North Carolina. It's actually right on the North Carolina-South Carolina border, and the border between the states actually runs through the center of the park, which is kind of cool, and that's kind of their thing. So Carolina Cyclone is one of the oldest roller coasters at the park. It's the oldest looping coaster at the park. It opened all the way back in 1980, so it's great to see this over 40-year-old ride getting some new love here in 2022. For quite a long time, Carolina Cyclone has been running with kind of a multi-tone, I don't know the best way to describe it, but basically the track actually changes colors throughout the course. So the lift and the station track and brake run are all blue, whereas the drop and the turns are orange and the inversions are yellow. It's kind of become a little bit of an iconic look for the ride, so it's really sad to see it go. But basically the new look is this kind of like turquoise color with white supports. Now, immediately, I am not a huge fan of this because, like I said, I just thought the old color scheme had become kind of iconic and I really liked it. But at the same time, that's just me, and I understand that for most of the general public, that color scheme was a bit dated, and this looks a lot nice and makes this 40-year-old attraction look, well, not quite 40 years old. Also, I understand why they made this change. Carowinds' parent company, Cedar Fair, has been pushing for a lot of their parks within the chain lately to start adopting a bit more consistent thematic areas throughout the park, because they used to, for the longest time, just throw down random rides with random names and sometimes themes where they didn't really make sense. But the last few years, they've really, at a lot of their parks, tried to have more consistency with themed areas and basically, I guess, fix their parks would be the right word, because they're finally starting to understand the importance that at least a basic theme can have to the amusement park experience. And so Carolina Cyclone is located in an area of the park that's called the Carolina Boardwalk. So when you look at that, this color scheme actually makes a lot of sense. It really invokes the kind of beachfront boardwalk feeling a lot more than the old color scheme did. So I think that's why they made this change. And when you think of it that way, it makes sense. And honestly, the more I look at it, it really does grow on me. It's just that initial shock of like the iconic color scheme being gone that kind of got me. Additionally, we got some new paint colors on the trains. Well, the general colors of the trains have remained the same from how they were when they last got repainted 2 years ago. Yeah, the track's been the same color forever, but the trains just got repainted 2 years ago anyways. You still have a yellow train and a purple train, but the trains aren't going to be completely solid color anymore. Again, I'm not great at describing color designs, but they've showed off the yellow train, and it kind of has a little bit of orange on it, some orange stripe on the bottom, and orange stripes across the top, and an interesting little pattern. I think they look really, really nice, actually. And again, we'll see how the purple train looks, but the yellow train that they showed off, again, really seems to send more of the beach boardwalk kind of aesthetic than the solid yellow did. So I really think that's what they were going for, since again, this is in the Carolina Boardwalk section of the park, and they're trying to make their themed areas, well, a little bit more consistent themed areas. The front almost looks like a surfboard to me, but they might be pushing it a little bit. But the point is, it looks more boardwalky, looks more beachy, and I actually like the little tornado logo on the front. They call that a cyclone logo. I wouldn't really call that a cyclone, but the logo for the ride, Carolina Cyclone, has always had that little tornado emblem on it. So I think it's cool that they're kind of putting it on the front of the train there to call back to the logo that the ride has had, pretty much forever, I think. Personally, I just really like that logo there, because I think the front of the train being completely bare didn't look quite right, but sticking a giant logo on it doesn't look quite right either, so I like this approach. Also, fun fact, those actually aren't Carolina Cyclone's original trains. I found out when doing a little bit of research for this video that those are actually Vortex's trains from Kings Island. Most coaster enthusiasts know, but a lot of people that watch this channel probably are not coaster enthusiasts and don't know, Carowinds and Kings Island, which Kings Island is just north of Cincinnati in Ohio, are owned by the same parent company, Cedar Fair. Vortex is an aerodynamics custom looping coaster, just like Carolina Cyclone, but unfortunately closed at the end of the 2019 season and was mostly scrapped, but the trains were sent down to Carowinds, we presume to be used for spare parts. But apparently what they did was put Vortex's trains on Carolina Cyclone, and then they scrapped Carolina Cyclone's old trains to use for parts to repair the Vortex trains that are now Carolina Cyclone trains. I probably made that more confusing than it needed to be, but yeah, it's funny to me that literally 2 years ago, Carolina Cyclones got new trains with a new paint color from Kings Island, and now they're getting repainted again. Anyways, I probably would have made more of an effort to ride Carolina Cyclone on my last visit to Carowinds if I had known that, because I've only been to Kings Island once, and Vortex was one of the rides I had to skip, but I was excited to ride it on my next visit, which never happened because they tore it down at the end of 2019, as I just mentioned. So now it's nice. Next time I go to Carowinds, I can go ride Carolina Cyclone and ride in Vortex's trains, even if I'll never ride them on their original track since it's destroyed. But yeah, I think this is very positive. As I kind of mentioned already, Carolina Cyclone was built by Aerodynamics back in 1980, one of their custom looping coaster models. And for those of you who are not active in the coaster/amusement park community, Aerodynamics as a company went out of business nearly 20 years ago, or I think over 20 years ago at this point. And the longer it gets since that date, the more and more old aero rides we see being torn down, unfortunately. And it's just really sad to see the number of Aerodynamics roller coasters at parks across the world diminishing. I understand why. As they get older and older, their ridership's going to decrease because people want to ride the new stuff. These are not cutting edge rides anymore, and maintenance costs are going to keep going up because the longer it's been since Aero's been out of business, it is harder to find parts to repair these attractions. And so maintenance gets more expensive, ridership goes down, and eventually they just have to tear out the ride and put something new there from a business side of things. So I definitely get it, but it just makes me sad because in my opinion, Aerodynamics had the biggest contribution to the roller coaster world as a roller coaster manufacturer more than any other company has. I really think that they made the biggest impact on roller coasters if you really look at everything that they did during their time that they were active. So I really want their rides and their roller coasters to stick around as long as possible so people can continue to experience them. And so it's awesome to see Carolina Cyclone get some new life with those Vortex trains from Kings Island that are a little bit newer, so they should last quite a bit longer. And this new paint job tells me that they're intending to keep Carolina Cyclone here for at least a little while. They're treating it like it's an important part of the park's past that they want to keep alive. They're giving it this new look to entice people to go ride it, and I think that's really awesome. Every aero coaster that's going to be around a little bit longer, that's a win in my book. So that's why I was so excited about this news, even if I don't like the new color on the track right away. And yeah, when Carolina Cyclone opened all the way back in 1980, it opened as the first roller coaster to go upside down 4 times. And it was built at the height of when just parks across the country, really across the world, but more across the country, were just beating out each other every couple of months trying to build the biggest roller coasters. It was really an interesting time in the amusement industry, and it's really cool to be able to still get on a ride like this and practically go back in time to 1980 and experience what was a cutting edge ride at the time, pretty close to the original experience you would have gotten back then. I know I'm personally very excited to get up to Carowinds at some point this year. Again, I'm going to school in Knoxville, which is about 4 hours away, so I should be able to make it up there to Carowinds at some point this year. Check out the new color scheme, see how it looks actually in the park. Things always look different when you're there, so I'm excited to give my actual thoughts when I'm there. And I am excited to take another ride on Carolina Cyclone and experience what was a cutting-edge ride 40 years ago, and as a coaster enthusiast, compare that to what we have now and see the amazing progress in the amusement industry since then. Oh, and also to ride in Vortex's trains, since I never actually got to ride Vortex at Kings Island. I can at least ride in Vortex's trains on a different track. That's going to do it for this video. Let me know down in the comments below whether you're a coaster enthusiast or not, what you think of the new colors on Carolina Cyclone. And I will link down below to the video on Carowinds' YouTube channel so you can hear what they had to say about it. And otherwise, I'll see you guys later. You never know what's coming next.